Well, welcome back into the mid-Norfolk garden. It's middle of September and there's a definite autumnal feel growing throughout this garden, and these Sedum autumn joy really are one of the first indicators of the colder evenings and shorter days. They've done really well in this position. They were moved into these new borders earlier in the season when they were pretty well in full growth, and I was concerned about whether they would overgrow and become very soft, but they are holding their form very, very well. One of the problems with sedums of this nature is if they get too leggy, they don't tend to hold the flower in a good form. These, I'm glad to say, are not suffering from that. 2 rows that we're using as edging borders, and they're looking very good. The colour's going to get even more intense over the next few weeks. These little Osteospurnum that we've planted almost as, I suppose the best way to describe them is a catch crop along the edge of this gravel path on the side of the sedums. They were tiny little plants and we put them in, and over the summer they've grown into these beautiful mature upright plants just flowering nicely along this edge. The path itself is hardcore with a pea gravel on the surface, and the edges are just made with the boulders we showed you as we collected these from one of the quarries and made a sort of semi-hard but soft edge, allowing for this whole area to settle, because this is the site of an old swimming pool that was filled in earlier this season. And incredibly, this new garden here is less than 6 months old. Been very impressed with how well it's done. I think the secret over this summer has been plenty of water and a good thick top dressing of mushroom compost, which really has done wonders for the plants growing in here and allowed them to get established in what was pretty uninviting topsoil from one of the paddocks. It's done very well. More Osteospurnums on this run. Really beautiful deep purple colour, this one. We've not seen these in the garden centres before this season. I'm not expecting these to overwinter particularly well. They may do, but I don't think these are the hardy perennial Osteospurnums that we have in the other area of this border just around the corner. I'll show you that. Lemon trees, I've absolutely loved it out here this summer. Couldn't really have got any better for them. Starting to look a little bit autumnal now, just a little yellowing on those leaves. Probably a sign I need to get some feed on them. Not a great crop of lemons on this one. Some young fruit coming on, which will be next year's harvest. Still in flower though, this one. And again, a little yellowing on the leaf, but by and large they've really loved being out in the sunlight here over summer. Catmints have been a real success on this border. All propagated from stem cuttings. And ready for a cutback just about now, but it's very difficult to judge when to do this because these were only planted, oh, here comes my company, earlier in this season, so they're all less than 7 or 8 months old, these plants, and the bees are still been flocking to them, and the continuation of the flower means judging when to cut these back is both a little tricky and a little dangerous. See on this cornflower, just look at that sleeping bee, and this border as the sun comes up, even in the middle of September, will be an absolute wash of bees, honeybees, hoverflies, everything coming to feed off this pollen. Lovely couple of dahlias on the colour palette for this border. The other big success we've had in here is the rose plantings, really growing away nicely. They have had a little bit of mildew. It's been a problematic season for planting new roses out because of the drought we've had here. We are lucky enough to be on a borehole with a solar electric pump system to provide the water that's allowed us to continue to keep this border hydrated over this season. Perennial Osteospurnum, which I'm sure will overwinter here, spreading out into quite broad plants and crowns. Very easy to propagate. If we just lift this, you'll find little embryonic roots all along the shoots that are lying along the soil, and where it's touched the soil it will probably be rooted in. These plants actually Kate bought from the car boot sale, bought all the guy had left. He'd sold quite a few already. beautiful light mauvey purple colour. And if you want to see the benefits of putting a soil improver on, just look at these Verbascum. Never seen leaves like that at this time of year. Clump of seedlings that's self-seeded into the side here. We're probably going to leave them. They may overwinter. Probably will end up looking quite a mess if they do, but if we tidy up the crowns in spring, they should give us beautiful spires of bright yellow flowers up to around 4 or 5 feet. Mixed plantings in here, lots of roses, some of which are doing something at the moment, most of which are very end of seasonish, but I'm just happy with the healthy growth that they're putting on. Just look at this, lovely fresh leaf growth still occurring, and that will continue until the first frosts, but still some beautiful colour coming on. Just look at that beauty, lovely form, lovely bud form as well, and against the healthy silver dew covered foliage, it really does remind you of why you've planted a rose garden in England. Thanks for watching.